Welcome once again to another excursion with Tea Time with Peter Binder, Seminarian at Blessed Sacrament. Now, I have been told, at least, that most series tend to get better as they go on, but they tend to drop off around the 8th season. So, hopefully we won't have to do 8 rounds of this, but we'll see how many different episodes the cinematographer, Maggie England, decides to force me to do. Anyway, I was sitting here sipping my tea and thinking about a book that I read a couple years ago. And I only read part of it, I'll confess, because it's rather long, but I remember reading William Chaucer's Canterbury Tales many years ago, which are a collection of stories written in Middle English from the 1300s. Great stories. And the idea is that you've got a group of pilgrims who are on their way to the shrine of St. Thomas Becket in Canterbury, England. And along the way, they have a competition to see who can tell the best story. So it's a whole diverse group of people. You've got a miller and different people who do very working class jobs. You've got a monk and a nun and different religious. You've got a knight, just a whole demonstration of all the strata of Middle English society. And so the stories range from all over the place. You've got stories of chivalry, there's rather risque stories, there's different ideas, everything's presented. It's sort of a picture of the whole world of Middle England. And a lot of the times these stories end up being less about the story themselves and more about what they tell us about the person who's telling it. So maybe the miller tells a story and that story sort of reflects the sort of person he really is, or the knight tells a story with a lot of chivalry and old-timey values, and that reflects who he is and the sort of values he has. And that notion of pilgrimage came to mind today because this upcoming Sunday, the 4th Sunday of Lent, is known as Laetare Sunday. And that old name, Laetare Sunday, comes from the Latin word laetare, which means to rejoice. And we get that name from the chant that would normally be sung as the priest is entering for Mass, which is Laetare Jerusalem. But in English, that goes something like, "Rejoice, Jerusalem, and all who love her. Be joyful, all who were in mourning. Exult and be satisfied at her consoling breast." And so the whole theme of the Mass is this image of pilgrimage. We're still in the season of Lent, we're still on our way, but we know where we're going. We're going to Jerusalem, and especially the heavenly Jerusalem. And on that journey, like any other journey, whether that be the pilgrims in the Canterbury Tales or whether that be on a family road trip, depending on that destination, maybe you're going to a funeral, maybe you're going on a vacation. That destination informs the whole trip. And besides just that destination, the people you bring along also inform it. I just recently went to the funeral of Father Jerry Kopacek and rode along with some of the priests, and we were just hearing stories all about Father Jerry, all about different things going on in the diocese, all about the history of the priests and the different things that they've seen. That's what you get when you go to a funeral. Maybe if you're going on a vacation, you'll hear all sorts of different stories from your family, some of which you might not want to hear. But regardless, that's part of the Christian life. That's part of this whole Lenten season, is that we're on pilgrimage to our heavenly Jerusalem. And so we're called to rejoice. We're called to rejoice because we know where we're going. But what's more, what we experience during this Lent, what we experience with trying to fast and abstain from meat on Fridays or follow whatever Lenten practice we're doing, that tells us something about who we are. The things that we're going through on this pilgrimage reveals where we're at in our relationship with God, where we're at in our relationship with Jesus Christ. And so I just want to offer this encouragement as we're more than halfway through Lent now, to use that as a way to learn about where you're at. Use that as a way to learn about where you need to grow and where you can already rejoice that God has worked in your life. And so, as we have just a couple more weeks of Lent, always remember to rejoice. Always remember that we know where we're going. We're going to the heavenly Jerusalem. And God wants us to keep growing and form us so that we can get there. Have a good rest of your Lent.